Hey Matt, it's Mike here. I'm just trying to take a query that has been encapsulated in a stored procedure and be able to produce that as an availability for end users to be able to download their own comma delimited file, data export from that. The issue with the stored procedure is that it's actually using temp tables because you can see the actual procedure right here. It's creating the table and then inserting most of the data from the incidence table with some joins and whatnot. But why it's an temp table is because I have some update statements in here where it's going to calculate some date differences between some existing fields that are in the database with some, say, like virtual fields that I'm adding to basically provide that data already pre-calculated for the end users. So that said, you know, it's not just a simple query because there's actually update DML statements built into it. Now, the issue that I'm running into is in Rackforms, I have the name of the procedure right here. Now you can see that if I execute this, which is right here, you'll see that does indeed work. I don't know why it's delaying. Oh, we've got this going over here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here it is. These are all the records that I want to export. These are the fields it's calculating. Days to report. So it's basically looking at the initial report date, which is this, and the incident date. It's doing a date diff between these two fields and calculating the number of days. And then the same thing over here with days to close. They want to know how many days it's taken from the date the incident was opened to the day it was closed. So there's a statement in here with a where clause to produce the days to close if the incident is closed. If it's not closed, it's going to remain null, that value. But again, it's doing the date diff between the incident date and the date last revised where the incident status is closed. Okay, some of these have default Microsoft dates in them, and it's because we didn't institute the automatic insert of the date last revised until a revision just a couple weeks ago. So all those records that are in there right now are going to have these kind of default dates that don't really apply. But if we scroll down, you can see that, you know, now there are some that are populating with a close date on them when they were last revised, and that indeed is still working. Okay, so that said, that's what the stored procedure is. I've tried to use SQL Server in itself to export a .csv file, or a comma delimited file, and it's failing, saying that it doesn't support temp tables. So with that said, and again, if we look at this query, that's what I'm doing here, right? I'm creating a temp table right here, and then at the end of the query, I'm dropping it after I've selected everything in that table after all of the data's been massaged and whatnot. So, that said, I go to Rackforms. And what I've done is I've just created a simple form page, and I inserted that query in here where it's running that executable. Okay, with a read, and I have the data set to data dump here because I want to see if it would show any kind of output in terms of what it should be populating to the comma delimited file. And then when we scroll down here, what I've done is I've set that option to the download prompt right here. Okay, so now when I run this, what's happening is we're getting the prompt. And when I say, well, let's say just open with Excel so I can see what's in there, it's opening the form, and you can see that it's naming the page, the sheet in Excel, but there's no data in there. It's not populating any of the rows. So what's going on here? If I go take a step back, and I just shut that off for now, and set this to do not export, and go up here, leave this data dump on, and have this executable here, what happens now? I hit save. It's not showing the array. The array is coming up null, no values. So if I go back one more step, and instead I just change this and say select all from, again I got my capitalization. Select all from IR incidents. Okay. And this is just a simple select statement, and I do the data dump and hit save. It's producing the array. So it's showing all of the records, all right, which this is what I would expect. Okay, now what about dumping this? So if I now leave that as is and go down to download prompt and hit save, I'm getting this, file not found. And I don't understand what the difference is, why it won't open Excel now. Maybe because it's looking for that page 0.php, which is that form page. That's the name of this form page. See, I never renamed this. This just used the default name. So there's something I'm missing, something I'm not doing right in terms of exporting this, and I don't know how else to test it. I'm just curious as to whether you know the temp, if the temp file, the temp table, is causing an issue with the executable. But why wouldn't this work? If so, is there something else I need to turn on here? I tried turning on return last insert row, that didn't do anything. And that doesn't make sense anyways, because that's just a count. So I just am curious as to what I'm doing wrong, or if there's some solution you can point me to. All right, Matt, I appreciate your help with that. Thank you.